Hello and welcome to this full guide on Meteora. Meteora is a powerful liquidity provider known as a DLMM, so it's a dynamic liquidity market maker. It's slightly different from other platforms, meaning that it's not really focused on the DEX aspect. It's more focused on providing liquidity, especially niche-wise for meme coins. So if you are farming meme coins, I would definitely get familiar with Meteora. Now the learning curve is slightly higher, so this is going to be focused on a beginner's guide. I'm going to show you how to get the best out of the platform. Now, please note, they do have a V2, which was released yesterday. So we're going to cover that because eventually they're going to switch to that. At the end of the video, if you want to forward it, I can do on the version 1. So it's going to be a bit of a lengthy video, but hopefully this is going to be the only guide you're ever going to need in terms of it. So what you do on this platform is essentially any token out there, you can create a pool for. And what that means is any token like this one, for example, if you copy the contract here, you'll notice that there's Meteora, 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 and Radiant pools. And obviously this one's on the main one, which is launched on Pump Fund, so it's on Pump Swap. Now what this means is other people have made these pools. You pay to make it. So it costs about zero point 0.2, roughly speaking, Solana at the moment, which is about half price than Orca, Radium, PumpSwap, everywhere else. So it's cheaper to make pools on here and you can earn a lot more making the pools. So what we're going to do is we'll use this one as an example and you just copy a contract. Let's say I like this token. I've either brought in or I'm looking to farm it or I'm looking to buy in. All you do is search the contract here and it will give you a list of pools. Now, I'm going to explain what bin steps are and I'm going to explain the fees because they're the most important things to note. Now, I'm not going to do a good job explaining what bin steps are. Essentially, that's each little step in the price is a bin. So each time the price moves up ever so slightly, that's a bin. So think about it on here to here might be 100 bin. So say for example, 0 point whatever the price is, 0.06. Each time it goes up to 7, that might be 5 bin steps. So it's the little gaps that come up. Each one is regarded as a bin step or bin position in DeFi. What that means is if you have 100 bin, that means your liquidity is all going to be centered around here. Yeah, so when the price moves up into that range and moves about in it, that means you're providing liquidity for it. Now, obviously, the tighter your liquidity, if you have $100 in liquidity between here, that means it's going to be accumulating a lot more fees. Each little section, so from here to here, you'll have $20, here to here, you'll have 25, and then here to here, you'll have another 25 like that. If your bin step is much larger, so we saw a 400 or 450, it might be like here, for example. So your liquidity is going to be more spread out between here, meaning you aren't going to incur as much fees. And also the other dexes and market makers and where people are buying from will not use your liquidity as much. So the tighter, the more liquidity in a certain area, the less likely there's going to be price impact, slippage impact, and they're more likely to use your pool. Now that means obviously a larger bin step, I would suggest putting in a larger amount. I hope that all makes sense. You don't have to necessarily know exactly how it works to an expert level, but you can kind of guess. Now I'm going to explain as well what the fees are. So each time somebody buys one of these pools, what happens is somebody pays a fee. So the decentralized exchanges, like what this one would be on PumpSwap, will be charging a fee. So for example, Radium charge 0.25%. 0.2% goes to anyone providing liquidity shared out between whoever's in the pool. And also 0.05% goes to providers that are, I think it goes to the Ray token actually, or their foundation. I know Orca have a foundation where it goes to. So it depends on the platform itself. Now, when someone pays a 1% fee, that all goes to people providing the liquidity. So this would be namely you. So to create a position and you wanted to get, obviously this is what this yield is, you go to new position and you've got spot, curve and bid ask. Now you've also got your tokens here. So I have a tiny bit in here, I don't know where from. and you've got the auto fill. So here we'll be able to just say, okay, I'm going to cover this and I'm going to put this amount. And if you click auto fill, what this will do, it will put roughly the same amount. So this isn't even a cent. But for example, you would do a spot position and that would give you a middle ground here like that. So a spot, essentially what it means is it's evenly spread your liquidity between the bin steps. Remember I showed you on here? That means each little position you'll have your bins up here. So everything has basically $1 each little price point, up to 80 bins, which will be about here or whatever. Yeah. So that's going to be a spot. Now, the interesting thing is you can do a curve position. So what that means is your liquidity, let's move this over here, will be more tight around here. Yeah, because your liquidity is concentrated around this price point. We've got more Solana and more of the token around here. So if the price is moving between here, you're going to make the most money. In fact, you're going to make double up here than you are down here in terms of fees. So this could be used when a token is quite stable. Something like Jupiter or maybe even Solana USDC. If you've entered on a wide range, you can use the position like that. It's very good for short-term plays, and I tend to use more so on a bid ask. If you think the price is going to move quite a bit, like this entry is a middle ground and you think it's either going to pump or dip, this will be good to use because your liquidity, again, will be more centered around here. Yeah, around these positions. So I wouldn't exactly start to say, okay, I'm going to start to use bid ask and curves and we're going to change it up. Now, the interesting part is you can just start with a spot position. This is the regular one, but this is the difference between what makes Meteora great. And I'm going to show you some other things you can do. Obviously, if you wanted to add the liquidity, you'll just add it and the price will start bouncing around and you'll accumulate fees. So I'm going to show you something a bit more interesting now. So you don't actually need to buy the token itself. And this is a strategy I use, say it's called the one-sided position. Now I'll clear these so we can get a better idea of what we're looking at. So this token itself, if we just use it as an example, looks like it's had a good run up and it's bound to have a pullback to this sort of position. And I think it's going to fall down and then maybe dip around and then maybe bounce back up. So how I can take advantage of this, I can use just Solana. So if I say I just want to use Solana, for example, you can do that. So let's go here. And I want to just type in 0.1 or 0.05. And I just want to do a curve position or a bid ask. Now, a bid ask means that most of my liquidity is down here because I've just done a one-sided. I don't have the other raise on the other side. So that means most of my liquidity, if we have a look between the price point, so 0.21 and 36. So I'd go over to here and we can draw our lines here and we can have a look. So it was 0.36, which is here, to, what was it, 219 or something like that. Anyway, this will be our range. So you can get an estimate. If you get really into yield farming, you'll kind of see like, okay, I think it's going to dip down here and go up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in a bid ask position. What that means, let's actually go in with it so we can get a better understanding of it. So 0.05 will be used as a to rent the position or the program. And that means that you're renting the space on the Solana network. You get that refunded every time you open a position like so. So now my price is here. I have to wait for it to bounce down. And hopefully what you ideally want is it to bounce down here and then bounce back up. No matter what happens, if it doesn't move, my Solana will stay in the same position. So my 0.05 will be 0.05. Even if it bounces down, goes back up, I'll be in the same position. Now, as the price falls, my Solana does not get swapped into the token as much. It will start to drop down and then it will start to swap a lot more down here because the liquidity is concentrated down here. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. This is just something I want to throw in there. Now take note that your fees, your average fees, will be a bit lower around here because you haven't provided much liquidity down here. But this is the safest way to enter a meme coin position, in my opinion. So on the flip side, if you wanted to say, okay, I want to enter this position or I'm holding this token, or you can take, for example, something like let's look at Solana USDC. USDC. Let's go with Fartcoin. So let's say you think Fartcoin is going to pump and you think, okay, it's going to pump. I'm holding Fartcoin and I want it to swap to dollars. What you can do is you can put your Fartcoin in here. And what I would suggest to do is do a curve position because you want to exit and you want to put most of your liquidity here. As it starts pumping, you'll start to earn a lot more fees. So get used to using one-sided. Trust me, when you look at charts, you'll realize a lot of people will enter on a one-sided position simply because charts always fall, they always bounce back, and they always come back if it's a good token. If it's something like this, I mean, this is a low cap new coin, might not even do well, but in theory, get used to using these positions once you get past the spot element. Move on to these bid-ask strategies, etc. Now, the other thing you can do, if we go to that position I opened, what you can do is once you start accumulating fees, which we've just earned a tiny bit of fees, each time there's a sell, I will earn the token. Each time there's a buy, I will earn Solana. So we have these tokens. We can just claim the fee and it will go directly to our wallet. Once we've claimed the fee, you can start to add to the position. So you just click manage and you're back in this screen again. And you can say, I want to add just the token now. And what that would do, you can still use bid, ask, and curve. So in theory, I can start to add the token again. Let's visualize it a bit better. So if you added, let's say, a large amount, you can see the curve positions lighted up here. Up here, they grow. So it gives you an estimate of what it's going to be. And the flip side, I can do a bid ask and it will grow here. Now, if I wanted to add some Solana as well, let's say I wanted to add one Solana, we would end up with a large amount. Let's not do that because we only put such a small amount in. But we can start to see the chart rise on that side as well. But obviously this is bugged out because there's so much Solana. But in comparison, let's put 0.5. For some reason it's not showing up. But usually you can do it on both sides and you can add curve, bid ask, and you can adjust and you can keep building out the pool. So the pool ends up looking not just like a bid ask going up. You end up building up like this side, that side, and it looks like a crazy zigzag. And you'll get some weird sort of names floating around, people using these, and they call it like crocodile stuff and God knows what. But in theory, once you start compounding your earnings, you do very well with that. Now, I want to show you a few more things. Obviously, we've got our portfolio page, which will show you what you're actually holding. And you can see here, I've entered Titcoin. So I actually brought Titcoin, like 1 point something Solana, and I put a curve position. So my Solana is getting swapped out very quickly from Titcoin to Solana, and I'm also incurring the fees. I'm going to just leave this one, let it build up. It's a small amount. I think I have another small amount of please. I've started to DCA in. Instead of leaving it in my wallet, I just chuck it on a spot position because I don't know what the price is going to be like or where my best entry is when I enter with one Solana or something like that. But in theory, this has been less than 24 hours and I've earned $5. Yeah. And you can see it's the weekend. So it's a very, very low amount in terms of earnings. So per hour, I'm earning X amount. So it's doing pretty well. Now, this one's doing pretty well in terms of, 24 hours. We could be getting maybe a 5-10% per 24 hours if we switch it. So it is good. Now, we'll show you the pools itself so you can get familiar with its actual thing. In terms of everything, it's ranked probably in volume. So you can do Solana USDC and have a look. The top pool doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best pool, but typically they rank it within fee and it depends. So these are very small bin steps. So if I give you an example, you'll be able to see if you put in that much, The whole pool is a 2% range. So the price between Solana 172 and 177, so if we have a look, so 172 or 1772 to whatever it was, um, it's 175 is here to basically here. It's a very small range, in fact. It's like that. So you're going to be yield farming within that range. So you can see how tight it is. And in theory, you don't necessarily want to be in that. I've got another pool on Orca, which is like this range. So I'm very nice in terms of, it's been in range for a while. And this is like long-term yield farming. You can kind of see how I'm doing. If I had this pool on here, Meteora, I could be compounding like no man's business. But have a look at the pools. Mainly, I would suggest farming meme coins on here, simply because they work so much better, and you also get the dynamic pricing as well. So if we have a look at the pool itself, this will go a bit more into detail. So we have our bin step, which shows us what it's in between and how tight the ranges are. Base fee. So we're going to earn a minimum of 0.04. And we've got what makes Meteora the best platform out there, a 10% fee. And they've also got their protocol fee, which has gone up as well, and the dynamic fee. So in theory, we can earn anywhere between 0.04 and 10%. And you might say to me, okay, how do we get the 10%? What it does is if it can squeeze out, I'll try and simplify it. If it can squeeze out an extra few percent, it will do so, provided there's no other better liquidity pools out there. For Solana USDC, it's not going to be as applicable. So let's say, for example, something like this. Even this wouldn't probably be applicable. Say every pool out there, we saw the list before. Let's say every pool out there pretty much has the same price. So here we have our 0.006. They're pretty much the same. Suddenly, if the price jumped massively and it went to 1 cent, which is about just over 2x from here, if your pool is charging 1% and all the other pools are charging 1%, what will happen is you'll end up with a position where you could be able to say, okay, people are going to buy from this pool because we're half price because everything else is 2x, and our tokens in here are cheaper. So what Meteora will automatically do is bump up a little max fee, and the people buying will be charged a lot more fee. So if the token is very, very volatile and jumping up and down, yeah, especially early on, this is where people just quickly make pulls on Meteora for newly launched tokens, and they do very well. You can't track it, you can't see it, but you can feel it in your wallet once that does happen. Typically, it won't happen too often. It might happen like once or twice a day. You might get a little zero point 0.2 extra percent, but if the token is really dancing around and bumping up and down and you're in range, you'll get a lot more. But in theory, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to always get that, but you can cream off a hell of a lot. Now, I'll just touch on very quickly creating pools, which you can set. Now, Meteora don't let you adjust ranges. So on Orca, you're able to make pools, and let's say, for example, this one, you're able to pick your own range. So you just move this across, and this is basically saying, I want a thousand bin step, yeah, or 2,000 bin step each way, or a large percentage each way. You can do that. But on Meteora, it's all set. So they have their already made ones. I don't know if they're going to adjust that in the future or anything like that. But if you wanted to make a pool, for example, you would pick your fee. This is what you charge for anyone using your pool. So you can go all the way up to 5%. Now that is the largest on all platforms. If you do a 5%, it's not really going to get used a lot. And it's for very low market cap tokens that you can do really well. So if you take the risk of making a pool for a new token that's a very low market cap, then a 5% will do really well. You can make a lot of fees and you can get your money back quite quick. It's high risk but high reward. And also you click your bin step. So let's say an average pool is about 1%. An established token you do 1%. And you'll do your bin step. So the tighter the range, the more likely your pool is going to get used because your liquidity is tighter. The larger, the advantage of losing a larger one, your liquidity, your yield won't be as great, but in theory, you're going to have a lot more safety room when the price jumps up and down. And what you'll do is you'll just put your price in here. So I can verify it and you can just copy it in here like so. And then you'll just make the pull and it'll bring you to another page and then you'll add your liquidity. This will charge you something like 0.03 and then afterwards it's going to charge you 0.15 to make the pull, which you don't get back, and it's also going to charge you your 0.05, which you can get back afterwards as well. And also, you don't have to do a full range of pull. Now, a lot of pulls, if you make something on Orca and Radium, you have to do a full range pull, which don't earn a lot. But on Meteora, you can make pulls very quickly. So have a look, always compare other platforms and see where you can get the best yield. I know, for example, Dupe Solana, you can get a 1% elsewhere. Yeah. But maybe on Soon So, you're not going to get that sort of percentage that it has here. I was farming this yesterday. It's a very good one. When a token is very hyped, I'll give you some advice. This is the best pool to be using because remember I said the Radium pools charge 0.25. This is even cheaper than every single pool out there. Now, if your TVL is low, there's price impact in between, so the pool won't get used a lot. But something, if you end up with 100k in here, you will start to suck a lot of volume and a lot of liquidity out. So I'll give you some advice. When a token's doing really well, or mooning like it's the number one runner and it's been the number one runner for weeks or days, then definitely make that pool and you'll print a lot of it. I've made a lot of money with these. They're very tight ranges, but you can make a hell of a lot of money. And the 80 bin 1% also does very well for the established tokens like maybe Housecoin or something like that. Does very well with those kind of ranges because most other platforms do 1% 100 bin. You'll be slightly better, you give a better offer. So it's just more about learning the platform and then you get more knowledgeable about using pools and how to use them and things like that. We'll show you very quickly. There are other things I don't personally use. So they have the dynamic market maker, which is the old school unconcentrated liquidities. And these give a certain yield. So they have a very wide range. So if you're very much like, I just want to leave my Solana and USD here for a few months, years, you can do that. But look at the yield, it's very, very small. So if you don't want to actively manage, you can do these type of pools. So they just have they're concentrated, but they're very large range, 550 to 500. I think Solana will stay in that range for the next year or so. They also have staking. The yields are terrible. I don't really advise staking meme coins. And they also have this one, which is more lending protocol based, and you get a 3% yield. In my opinion, I wouldn't take the risk in using crypto DeFi to lend. I would just leave it in the bank and you can get that kind of yield anyway. So it's not a great offer. So always keep an eye on it. This is obviously version one. Version one, I prefer. I'm used to it. I've been using it for years. So you can literally just claim your fee, add your amount here, and then maybe we can show you what we was trying to show you earlier, where the price of Solana, when you do a curve and a bid ask, you can kind of play with it. And once you're farming something, you'll get a better advantage over, okay, this will do really well because I think it's still going to go up. So I'm going to put more down. I'm going to buy the position, etc. And I hope they implement like the charts feature where you can just have a quick look at the chart, which has the liquidity of that actual pool. I hope they implement that on the platform. I know it doesn't look as clean, but Meteora are doing a fantastic job, and I think they're going to continue to do a fantastic job. So I hope you found this video helpful, useful, and any questions, comment below. I hope I've covered pretty much everything on there, but get used to using Meteora. The other thing to mention is they do have an airdrop coming, so use the platform, farm the airdrop, and I wish you all the best and take care.